And let's see, so I'm gonna do this one here on the side, and I'm going to pink it up actually slightly, and I'm going to make it, or try to make it slightly darker, just because it's on the side and I'm imagining the shadow side on this side on the left. So I'm going to do it the most intense. So make sure you have enough water but not too much water, because now I want the color to be quite creamy for the consistency, and I want it to be quite intense. So I'm going to mix up probably similar measures of Helios purple and Cenelia red, and then into that, to intensify it, I'm going to add a little small, really small amount of dioxazine. Is this dioxazine purple? Yes, it is. And that should take it to that lovely, gorgeous, dark raspberry color. It's literally like a raspberry that is sitting in the shade. That's the color that I'm after. Look at that, beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to leave this for a second. And I'm going to do the glaze again. I always start with the glaze and make sure there's not too much water, because I want this petal to be quite luscious and strong, so I want not too much water here. I shouldn't have done this. Okay, I'll let this one dry. I'll probably dry anyway because it's thin. Yeah, I can see it's drying. So at this point I can see this area now started to dry, so it's going to be really lovely and intense now. It's going to do the same what it did here at the bottom. The color is beautiful, gorgeous. Okay, and maybe, okay, so this one has dried. I'll do the other technique with this one. So here I'm going to pull it. Sorry about that. The one of the builders ones for the second day now. The alarm keeps going off. So annoying. So here I'm not going to try and do the highlight too much, because it's sort of in the shade anyway. It could really just be one color. So I'm going to do this one now, which is behind, because it's not touching this petal, which I've done, so I don't want it to flow into one another. But to be honest with you, again, it wouldn't be too big of a problem, just because it's all dark here anyway. To make sure that it looks like two separate petals, I'm going to wipe around this petal like so, and then when I'm going to apply the watercolor here, I'm going to do it really dark at the edge, and that way you'll have that differentiation. Okay, I'm going to now move on to the buds. The buds are pretty easy. I'm actually going to look at the image again, and oh god, the buds I'm not going to do in the same way, because I can see the watercolor has now lost its intensity, so I'm going to mix it up again, and I think just really creamy consistency of Helios purple and Cenelia red should be enough for the buds, because there is no highlights here at all. They're just really super intense. I'm just going to go in just with the pure color, the watercolor, and nothing else. beautiful, isn't it? Gorgeous color, really, really pretty. So I'm going to go back to this petal now and do a very mild, very light glaze, and I'm going to go in to this darker color and just so this color ends up a bit lighter than the other ones because I don't have the dioxazine purple in there, which is, I think it's probably alright because it's in the foreground. Now, to intensify a few of these areas here, I can see I need to go back to here. For example, I'm going to do a second glaze. Actually, first of all, I'm going to mix up yet again more of dioxazine purple. Make it really, really creamy. Just as creamy as I did the buds. And what we want is just take a bit of more water. You don't want it to be too dry. And I'm just going to go in with the watercolor with no water, just on the areas where I want it to be, like that. And then I'm going to wash my brush and just smooth the edges and bring it down a little bit, like so. And I'm also going to go into here and do that. That gives the petal a little more realistic look. So pull down the color from this area and down to there. Gosh, I can't wait for the spring, for all the excitement when you can go out, go to parks, go to national trusts, and take photographs of blooming flowers and whatnot, and then come home and paint. Oop. So if you make a little mistake, don't worry, you just wash your brush off and then go back. But again, don't do it too often because this is already a second glaze, remember, so you don't want the paper to get upset. Again, I'm going to go back into this color and put it right at the ends. And remember, don't take it too far down because you're going to try to soften the edges anyway. And as you do that, unwillingly you'll pull the color down. As you've done that, now you can, actually the other way around, go like that from the top to the bottom of the leaf, and that, as you can see, leaves a lovely highlight from underneath. Okay, let's do next one. I'm just going to do very little on these two because they're already quite intense, so I'm just going to do it really quickly. This petal here needs a nice corner of vibrancy. And I'm just going to soften and pull it down, soften and pull it down. There you go. Alright, and I'm going to repeat that on this flower here because it doesn't have that intensity. I'm going to mix up the same color. It doesn't really matter that it's not going to be the color that was here, which was a little bit, I think, redder. You don't need that precision because you're just going to intensify the edges of it. You're not going to change the color further down the leaf. So might do this one while I've got the pigment on my brush. Feels like a waste to wash the brush off at this point. So I'm just going to now pull it slightly more down, soften it, wash my brush, and now pull it a bit more down. So like that. So you can see that gives the geranium a little bit of a lovely moment, vibrancy moment, and textural as well. And I'm going to do it over here. Like so. And a bit on the edges of this petal as well. I'm actually helping here myself and doing those lines to begin with so that I can just pull it down like so. So you can either first of all smoothen the line out, or you can do what I'm doing here, but the most important thing is pull it down from top to bottom, not the other way around, because that will give you a harsher line. Okay, so I'm quite happy how it looks, but I do need to do something a little bit with the center, and I'm going to basically take a little bit of dioxazine purple and mix up a nice dark color. I'm going to add a bit of red again. That's gorgeous color here. So it just needs to be dark and deep. Roll my brush in the watercolor to make sure I have a nice point. And now I'm going to do little detailing just here. Not giving me a good point, this brush. Just like so. I'm going to pull it out a little bit more just because, there we go, I want really tiny bits. So I can't see because of this photograph whether there is anything else, but I think it's just on the main petal, and I'm also going to do it lightly on the two side petals like so. And a little bit here, we can hardly see it, but I'm just going to suggest that there is a center right there. Okay, so this is it. I wouldn't really, well actually it's a good color to go and intensify this bit here. Yeah, so I'll do that just now. It's a nice dark color, so I thought I might as well use it for these petals, because I don't want them to look bleak now compared to these ones. So okay, so we're almost there now. Make sure you leave this lovely little light area just before this petal, so it looks like a separate petal. Try not to have too much water, and if you do, then just pull it out. So this collection of petals is not really our focus, because we have the central flower and everything else going on that looks lovely, so we don't really need to concentrate on it too much, but I do want to make sure it looks nice. Okay, so that is it. Then we have the green to finish. So I'm just wakening up the color that I had previously mixed here, and that seems to be the right color. There's also one that needs to be a little bit more greener, so I'm just going to take this color over here and maybe add some of this, which is the cobalt blue. Okay, so this looks right. This is more on the green side, and this one is more on the yellow side. So let's start. So here is going to be quite straightforward, and we're going to basically do those that are a little bit more yellow, which are these buds. like that. I'm going to do this first. Oops. So these are the most yellow parts that I can see. I can see a little bit of yellow in some of these petals, and this is going to be a darker because it's in the shadow there. So I'm just going to cover as many as I can. Now this is a darker color here, so there's no point of me doing that. Okay, so now I'm going to go into this greeny color, which is mixed up right here, trying to gather it like so, and then just add it to the petal. Try to avoid touching this strong bud color because it might pull and it might make the green dirty, because it's going to be red and green creates brown. So I think I'll just leave it at that. And just add a bit more green here and there. And I'm now going to go into the stalk. So I'm leaving tiny little gaps between those greens. It's a nice tall color actually. Usually I make much lighter first glaze. Okay, so and just to darken it slightly up, because it's sort of causing a shadow, I'm just going to go into quinacridone red and cerulean blue again and create that sort of like a olivey green color, and I'm going to glaze it on top because the first one was really light, the glaze, and so it dried by now, and that will differentiate between these three these green buds over here, because at the minute it's the same color. And then I'm just going to take it out here just on the side like so, and then I'm going to lift a little bit here and soften the edge right here so we don't have a line. Okay. Okay, so I have now finished. So a little tip I wanted to share with you. I stopped using, or I try not to use my hands when you know, erasing the pencil lines, because quite often you can just smudge you know, watercolor or something like that with your fingers. And with a fan brush, this is actually a makeup brush, you can buy these, they're not expensive, so this probably doesn't cost that much. I got this one from my glossy box, but anyway, it's so easy because it's so gentle, it hardly touches the, you know, the watercolor, but what it does do, it does a great job of taking off these little rubbery things. So now I have done it, and I just wanted to show you really quickly what I have done here when I'm outlining the details. So the buds I actually left as they are, because I thought I will disturb the watercolor. The edging of this very super intense watercolor I really like. that's why I didn't want to cage it in a outline. Also, the other thing that really helps with a fountain pen, because it's so super fine, make these little flicks at the end. So there's no watercolor there, it's just I'm taking the green bit a bit longer by flicking it out, and as you can see, it makes it look so delicate and pretty, as these things are in nature. And that's all I have done. I have outlined the rest of it, but even though this is an extra fine fountain pen, I still made sure I don't press too much on the paper, and just gently go over it, and I think that looks quite pretty and finished. If I haven't mentioned, this is the platinum carbon ink fountain pen. So once again, this was fun to do, and thanks for watching, and see you soon.